I'd love you, if you don't mind, to talk about the know, do, understand model, and why is that such a significant part of these reforms? What does it entail, and why is that one of the key sort of components or strategies in the reform?
Yeah, so the no do understand model comes from some of the work of Lynn Erickson and others, and I think the reason why we were keen on it in Scotland is that it tries to lift curriculum from just a list of content
Right.
to a different level, and I think that speaks to what you just talked about there, because you see at the beginning of a lot of curriculum documents they talk about the beauty of mathematics and the inherent nature of just learning the subject for its own sake, and then what you see is a list of kind of what feels like pretty static content. And we've had conversations like this in Scotland about, why are you putting that in? It doesn't feel like you could examine that. Well, actually, that's part of, that pattern that maybe we're introducing as part of our curriculum
Mm.
notes or something is maybe potentially pulling out some of that joy and wonder for young people. So the know, do, understand model kind of find itself in there. The reason why we're keen about that, it's that sort of three-dimensional nature of curriculum. Knowing one of the, again, criticisms of the Scottish curriculum has been that we haven't taken knowledge seriously enough. And
Mm.
when you read the documents, I can genuinely kind of understand where that criticism comes from. It's not that as a teacher in Scotland that I set out in the morning not to value or teach knowledge, but when you see some of the national guidance, I can understand the argument. So I
Yeah,
think
wow.
in terms of the model that we're trying to design, the knowledge is clear within the know section. The
Right.
doing section is, I mean, it kind of does what it says on the tin. It's
Yeah.
what you would expect children to
Pretty
do.
simple. Yeah.
Yeah, but also we've tried our best to keep it as pedagogically free as
Right.
possible, but at
Right.
the same time introduce things that we think from research are really important. So
Amazing.
multiple representations, spatial reasoning, those kind of things that sort of float through that kind of do sections. We think that we've got a kind of nice balance of sectorial research-based practices, I suppose. So things like children working with concrete materials, not
Gotcha.
just the children who maybe require a bit of an additional support, but actually really deepening the understanding. So you would probably see some of that floating through the do phase. And then the understand is really about that kind of connecting of concepts. So in terms of our journey in curriculum change, we made some changes around what that kind of looks like, and I'm really comfortable with where things are at the moment. But the understanding statements, which incidentally are really difficult to write, because you're trying to write them succinctly, and you're trying to sort of meet a number of little parameters that kind of sit behind the scenes, and when people read them, they'll not necessarily have that information that
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
kind of trying to work through to make sure the understanding statements were as tight as possible. But
Mm.
ultimately, I suppose it's the connection of concepts. So understanding would be around the connection of concepts. Knowing would be things like the facts, the definitions, the axioms of maths, and
Mm.
doing would be like the skills and the processes and the procedures. And when you bring that knot really tightly together, which
Gotcha.
is where I think we're getting closer to, I
Yeah.
think you could have a really strong, potentially even generational
Mm.
change
It's
for our subject area.
it's exciting. Like it is
Yes.
really, really, really exciting.